guys, it's back here. Welcome back to my podcast. Today I'm going to be continuing the third book of the Harry Potter series, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. So, basically, Harry is still really mad about Sirius Black because of the conversation that he had heard in Hogsmeade with Professor McGonagall, Dumbledore, and Miss Rosmerta, the landlord of the Three Broomsticks. Then Hermione tries to cheer him up because, who wants a friend who's really, really sad? Well, the good thing was that Ron remembered that in just a few days it was going to be Christmas, and that kind of cheered Harry up. But that didn't change his mind. He still wanted to kill Sirius Black because, he is the reason that Harry is an orphan. He is the reason that Voldemort killed Lily and James Potter. Then a few days goes by and Harry is still sulking about Sirius Black. He might sound sad since he's sulking, but in reality, he's furious with him. Lily and James trusted him to keep the secret, but he rattled off to Voldemort. Then Christmas Day finally comes. Harry is still asleep, dreaming of who knows what, while Ron's already awake, ripping open presents. He opens a present and he finds a jumper that his mom gave. It was maroon. And Ron says, "Maroon again? Come on, Mom, don't you have other yarn colors?" He asked Harry if he had gotten one too, but Harry was way too lazy right now. But in a while, fortunately, he woke up and opened some presents. And yeah, he had gotten a jumper from Mrs. Weasley too. Mrs. Weasley literally treats Harry like her own son because she only gives her own knitted jumpers to her children. Then Harry opens another present and rolls out a new broomstick. Now, if you guys didn't know, I had mentioned this a few podcasts ago in the Prisoner of Azkaban Part 2, Harry was in a Quidditch match and his broom, he fell off because of the dementors and his broom hit the Whomping Willow. And you know that the Whomping Willow does not like to get hit, especially after what happened to the car in the Chamber of Secrets. Poor flying car and Aragog and Hagrid. Well, let's talk about that a little later. So he finds a new broomstick and he's really happy because Slytherin versus Ravenclaw is about to come soon. And after that means that Gryffindor is either going to play with Slytherin or Ravenclaw. Well, whichever team loses. And these are the semi-finals. So if Gryffindor wins this, they get to go to the finals and probably win the House Cup. And Oliver Wood, who is the captain of the Gryffindor Quidditch team, is going to be leaving the school this year. So it would be really nice for him to win at least once in his 7 years at Hogwarts and 5 years of playing Quidditch. Harry is the team's most important player. He's the seeker. If he catches the snitch, the game is over and they win automatically. Because if you catch the snitch, you get 150 points. So, he was really happy to find a broomstick. And he didn't really care about the brand. On the other hand, Ron definitely did. It didn't really say who it was from. But Ron knew that was a firebolt. Firebolt are one of the fastest broomsticks, Harry. He said, "This is amazing. You'll get that snitch in 5 seconds. The finals are hours." But the problem was Hermione walked in, and when she found out about the firebolt, she thought that Sirius Black probably sent it. And, if he sent it, it's probably because he wants to curse or jinx Harry. So, she thought, I should give this to Professor McGonagall, guys. She can check for jinxes and all so that Harry can be safe. What if Sirius Black sent this? Harry and Ron were very, very mad at Hermione because, Harry has a firebolt. It's all his. And firebolts are like the fastest broomsticks. He could win that match. But if Professor McGonagall takes it, she's going to be so worried and she's probably never going to give it back to Harry. Well, then, of course, the next day, Harry's still mad at Hermione because she probably just ruined his Christmas. He got one amazing gift, no offense to Molly Weasley, but one amazing broomstick, and she just comes off and rattles it off to Professor McGonagall. What's next? She's going to give the Marauder's map too, along with his invisibility cloak. Then, Wood comes along in the corridor. Harry talks with him, and he asks that he needs to buy a new broomstick before the semi-finals because it's very important, and he doesn't want his Star Seeker to be using one of those used, rattly, broken broomsticks from the Hogwarts shed. Then Harry says that he actually got a really good broomstick, a firebolt. Wood's like, whoa, a firebolt? I mean, we're so winning this. And he tries to high-five Harry. But Harry puts his hand down and says, but Hermione gave it to Professor McGonagall because she thinks that Sirius Black probably jinxed it. Then Oliver says, oh, I have a good talk with Professor McGonagall. I mean, she wants us to win the House Cup as much as we do. And how about that Dementor thing? I mean, we don't want your firebolt breaking in the Whomping Willow either, do we? So have you got that under control or something? Harry says that Lupin is going to teach him how to ward off Dementors, and he's probably going to have a wand with him in the match. But obviously just for the Patrollers, not for any other stuff. So then, after a few classes which are pretty boring, Harry goes to Lupin, and he's going to teach him how to ward off Dementors. He says that he has to say the words Expecto Patronum, and he has to think of the happiest memory that he has ever had. Harry remembers that, and he tries his first time. He thinks of his first time on a broomstick, or the first time he caught a snitch. He keeps switching between those two memories, and he yells, Expecto Patronum! But then, the Dementor is too strong, and Harry falls to the ground. Lupin yells, Harry! But Harry's still hearing voices, his mother screaming, No, not the boy, not Harry. Stand aside, little girl, says another voice. Harry then quickly wakes up. And Lupin gives him some chocolate. He says that if he doesn't want to try anymore, it would be okay. But Harry says, no way, I have to try again. I mean, if I can't ward off Dementors, we might risk losing the Quidditch House Cup. So he tries again, this time thinking of the first time that he had ever won a match. This time he doesn't switch between memories. But then in his mind he's still thinking, what if I hear that voice again? What if I hear my mother? He tries once again, but once again gets shot backwards. Lupin helps him up and gives him some chocolate and says that I think that's enough for today. I doubt any Dementors are going to come. And if they do, I think you might be as ready as possible. So, then, Ravenclaw had played Slytherin, and as expected, Slytherin had won. And this means that Gryffindor is going to battle Ravenclaw for the semi-finals. And if they win, they're going to battle Slytherin in the finals. Then, Professor McGonagall walks to Harry and says that she had a good chat with Wood and had accepted to give him back his broomstick. But then, when he goes to give the good news to Ron, he's really happy. But then just next class in Transfiguration, he is furious at Hermione. He yelled at her so much. He showed his pillow cover which Scabbers usually sits on, and says, "Do you see that? You know what that red thing is?" Hermione asked, "What?" terrified. And he said, "It's blood. Your bloody cat has killed Scabbers." And then Hermione says, "What proof do you have? I mean, who knows if that was Scabbers? I mean, who knows if that was Crookshanks?" Then he said, "I also found this under my bed." And he throws ginger furs and sharp claws onto Hermione's textbook. And he storms off to sit in the front of the class. Hermione sees the fur and she immediately recognizes it. It was definitely Crookshanks. But she's still completely mad at Ron. Not at Harry, of course, now that Sirius Black did not jinx the broomstick. But how could Ron think that her cat killed his rat? I mean, what do cats want to do with rats? She finds her own food, like birds and all. She's a hunting cat. She's not going to eat a house rat. Okay, that rhymed a little too much. But anyways, well, their feud had still continued, but their final day had come. It is Gryffindor and Ravenclaw semi-finals. So they ate breakfast and the match had started. But right before the match, Draco in breakfast was all acting like dementors and all, as if he was trying to mock Harry. I mean, bro, you know how scared you were when you were at the train? I said when I read that part. Then Lee Jordan is the commentator of the Quidditch matches. And he was literally just advertising the fireball. He's like, if anyone wants a fireball, you can buy it off Diagon Alley for this much galleons. I don't remember the price, but yeah. And then, just while Harry's flying, he just sees the snitch. And then he sees another bludger which is coming right towards the snitch. So if he reaches his hand out, he'll probably break it. So he avoids it swiftly. And then that just gives Lee Jordan another opportunity to, advertise. And he's like, did you see how fast that firebolt went? I mean, it just swift past, saving you for any bludger. Then Harry sees the snitch once again. And the Ravenclaw seeker, Cho Chang, was in her 4th year, whereas Harry was in his 3rd. And I mean, she was a girl, so Harry couldn't do anything like he could to Draco, obviously. Then Oliver Wood yells from the goalposts, "Don't be a gentleman, Harry. Knock her off your broom if you need to." Then Harry sees dementors, literal dementors. But then the only thing was that they weren't really acting a lot like dementors. Then Harry swifts away and tries to get his wand. But in that time, he literally just caught the snitch in his hands. And everyone sees that, and the whole of Gryffindor starts cheering and all. And then he notices that the Dementors were actually Malfoy, Crabbe and Goyle. So as expected, Lupin runs down to the stadium when he saw the Dementors. But when he noticed that they were Malfoy and Crabbe and Goyle, he was relieved and furious. So was Professor McGonagall. But of course, she had a little smile on her face. Not because of the Dementor thing, of course, but probably because Gryffindor won and were in the finals. She yelled so much to Malfoy, Crabbe and Goyle, took 50 points from Slytherin each, so that becomes 150 points, and she gave all 3 of them detention for a week. Then, the whole Gryffindor common room was cheering for so long, but of course, eventually they fell asleep. And then, Ron just heard some scraping and stuff, and then he opens his eyes and he sees Sirius Black standing above him with a knife. Then, when he sees him, he yells so loud and Sirius Black scatters. Well, of course, Ron couldn't keep this in too much. He was so scared, he woke the whole Gryffindor common room up. Even girls were walking into it. Ron literally became famous. He told the story to millions of people so many times. And, well, McGonagall was furious because, how could Sirius Black get into Gryffindor common room? And why had he spared the children? Why didn't he just kill Harry in his sleep? He was asleep and he had 5 other boys to kill. He was a mass murderer who killed 12 muggles. What was going to stop him from killing 6 wizards, and who one of them was Lily and James's son? Then, well, of course, Professor McGonagall asked the Sir Cadogan why he had let Sirius Black in. And then Professor Cadogan said that he had the whole list of all of the passwords the whole week. So he just read them off like a paper. And then Professor McGonagall asks everyone in the Gryffindor who had this type of paper and who had just left it somewhere for a mass murderer to take. Neville terrifiedly raised his hand. And the same day at lunch, Neville got a howler. Ron said, "You better run for it, Neville," because Ron had gotten a howler before and it wasn't great. So Neville ran as fast as he could in a deserted place, and his grandmother's yells still echoed in the hall. And it wasn't really the best thing. Then apparently Hagrid gave them a letter to make the day even sadder, because he said that because of Malfoy, Buckbeak is probably going to get executed. So he wanted them to help in Buckbeak's, what do you call that? Buckbeak's support lines, what he can say to support Buckbeak. But the only problem was that they had an upcoming Hogsmeade trip. So they told Hagrid that they would surely meet him the next day to, talk to Hagrid about Buckbeak's support. Harry, Ron had so much fun in Hogsmeade. They filled their pockets with Zonko, there's a Zonko joke shop in Hogsmeade. They filled their pockets with jokes and stuff, whizzing some twirly things and all. And then they had an epic snowball fight with Malfoy. Basically, Ron was standing in front of the Shrieking Shack, and Malfoy made fun of him because he was all alone and all. And he kept calling him Weasley and stuff. And then Harry started just chucking snowballs at them while under the invisibility cloak, of course. And yeah, it was so much fun. But then when they got back, the only thing was that Snape saw Harry coming back from the Gryffindor common room, and he scolds Harry because he said that Malfoy saw your floating head in Hogsmeade, and no part of your body is allowed to be in Hogsmeade, especially your head. Then he asks him to empty his pockets, and he finds the Zonko treats and the Marauder's map. He takes the map and asks, "What is this?" Harry says, "It's just a spare bit of parchment that I keep around." And then Snape says, "Well, then I guess I can burn it, right?" Then Harry yells no, snatches the parchment and runs away. And then while he's running, Snape yells, 50 points from Gryffindor. Then the finals were creeping closer. But Hermione had gotten a letter. She apparently didn't go to Hogsmeade because she helped Hagrid with his support. And the only thing was, Hagrid didn't write the due date of the hearing. So actually, it was just the next day. And Hermione had gotten a letter saying that Buckbeak sadly is going to be executed. And, well, Ron got so sad And he thought that this was all his fault because he refused to talk to Hermione over a silly little rat who was like 90 years old. Well, not really. So then he and Hermione became friends again, and Ron said that we're definitely going to make a better support for him so that he won't be executed. Then, Harry has to talk with Oliver for a while, and he keeps saying, you have to only catch the snitch when we're 50 points ahead, because if we're not, then the snitch is going to be no use because we need 200 points to win. So then, if you catch the snitch, we still have to keep playing. Whereas if Slytherin catches the snitch, they'll win. And then he kept repeating the same thing. And Harry loses his patience because with all that's going on, with Snape's grudge, with Hagrid's and Buckbeak, with Malfoy and all, and Sirius Black, he gets pretty irritated and just yells, okay, fine, I know, just catch the snitch when we're 50 points ahead. Then there was a team meeting and it was quite short. There was not many details and they just went back to bed. Then Harry had a dream that he kept on hearing Oliver saying, how could you? You were so late. We had to use Neville instead. I mean, how could you sleep in? It was the best day. It was a final, and because of you, we lost. But then, luckily, he just finds out that it's a dream, eats breakfast, and the match begins. Katie gets the quaffle and throws it in the hoop. But then a bludger almost got her. Jordan apparently is too biased and he says 60-10 and Harry sees the snitch. Look at that Gryffindor waving around. Then Professor McGonagall is like, Jordan, can you commentate in a less biased way? You know what? For these type of matches, I just have a Hufflepuff commentator. You can commentate on other matches where Harry isn't playing. Then Harry sees the snitch, like Jordan had said, but then it disappears. Malfoy's broom had hit Harry's broom, but then that was actually really good because Malfoy didn't see the snitch. He was just playing around and hitting Harry unnecessarily. But he had hit Harry in the correct direction. Sure, he was a bit dizzy, but he caught the snitch. And the whole Gryffindor house starts cheering so much because Gryffindor had won the house cup in the first time in 11 years. Slytherin, on the other hand, had won 5 years in a row. Everyone is so happy, but then they couldn't have a party that long because they had to apparently study for their exams. The last few exams happened and then, it was the day that for Buckbeak's execution. Then the last exam, which was the DADA obstacle course, had come and it was basically like everything that they had learned and it was just an obstacle course. But then Hermione had failed. Well, not exactly, but she thought she had failed because she didn't get full marks. According to her, 90 to 95 is a fail. She needs 98, 99 or 100 to actually pass. And more than 100 to have good marks. I mean, what type of examination is this? Well, the reason that she had gotten low marks is because she saw her boggart, which was Professor McGonagall. And of course, she's not scared of Professor McGonagall like how Neville is scared of Snape. But the only thing is that Professor McGonagall's words were what was scary. She said that Hermione had failed all of her exams and had to go back to the second year. And she was pretty mad. Then the execution had come. Hermione, Harry and Ron were talking with Hagrid and trying to cheer him up. Even though he was crying, no one could really see his tears because of that bushy beard he has. Then Ron finds Scabbers. Hagrid says, here, I found him in my hut a few days ago. I thought to give him to you, but you guys were just so stubborn with Hermione. She came to the hut every day crying and helped me with the to make the support. So I thought I would like it if you guys sorted it out yourself. And Hagrid gives Ron Scabbers. They leave the hut for the execution, and Draco comes along with a smug look on his face and his annoying friends and says, "Here for the party, eh?" And it was no party. Buckbeak was getting executed. How do you call that fun? Then Hermione points her wand at him, and Draco starts whimpering. Of course, it was probably a joke. Then Ron and Harry say, "Stop, Hermione, it's not worth it." Hermione puts the wand down and starts walking away, but then runs back to Draco and punches him in the face. Draco almost fell down and started running away. Then, when he was gone, Hermione just randomly said, "That felt good." And Ron said, "Good? That was blimey amazing." But then Scabbers wouldn't stop moving from Ron's hands, and he kept running around. But then Hermione noticed that it was time for the execution, and Buckbeak was dead. Hermione starts crying, and I would too, because Buckbeak had done nothing. All he did was hit Draco. He didn't kill him or anything. That was Draco's fault because he didn't listen to Hagrid. And then Draco tattles to his father, and he is like, if he says something, it goes. If he says that we have to show Muggles all the magic, they'll have to show Muggles all the magic in the world. Like, literally. That was so unfair. An innocent hippogriff was executed on that day. And sure, Malfoy got what he deserved, but one punch is gonna heal. You can't revive a hippogriff, can you? Or can you? Now, that's a mystery we're gonna solve very soon. We'll find out how you can revive a hippogriff next time. So, thanks for listening to my podcast. Stay tuned and bye.